Hey guys, it's Kat. So welcome to my channel. This is my very first reading video and yeah, I don't really know where to start. So basically I want this channel to follow my journey, my newfound love of reading. So a little bit, sorry, I have a cold, so bear with me. But yeah, so I've always loved reading. Actually, I loved reading in middle school and half of high school, but somewhere between high school and college, I kind of sort of fell out of love for it, and I don't know if it's because, so I'm a double major, I'm a science and neuroscience French double major, so basically I don't really read a lot of fun books. In French, we read books, but it's in French, and so that takes a lot of effort and time, and it's sort of not for pleasure, and I don't really read for pleasure in science. So maybe that's where I found my long lost love for reading. I don't really know, but the important thing is I got it back, and I got it back while I'm currently in France studying abroad, and I'm in Paris, and Paris is such a literary city. Everyone here reads, everyone here loves to read, everyone here talks about their books that they're currently reading, and so it's a perfect place to sort of rediscover my love for reading, and I just wanted to put it on YouTube and hopefully inspire other people who kind of lost the love for reading, or, you know, I don't know, never really read for fun. I sort of have a theory that everyone can love reading, but you just have to find the right book or the right genre. So I thought my first video would be sort of just to show you guys what I've already read in 2018. So what I guess, since I started reading again for fun. So I want to talk about the books that I've read so far since I rediscovered my love for reading, and some of the books that I am currently reading and currently enjoying, and that would sort of kind of give you an introduction of what kind of books I like. Don't really have a genre. Even when I was younger, I didn't really have a genre that kind of I was obsessed with. Basically now, what makes me want to read a book is if I hear a book recommendation from someone, especially from someone that is in my life. Some of my friends or family, but also book reviews on YouTube. But really, if someone in my personal life came up to me and was like, you have to read this book, I will automatically read it regardless of the subject matter. And I don't know, something about seeing the passion in that person's eyes when they recommend a book, it's just very, very, very powerful and enticing, and it makes you want to read. So a lot of the books that I'll be showing you that I've read were book recommendations. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. So actually the first book that I actually don't have it with me that actually kickstarted my love for reading is Origins by Dan Brown. And this is sort of the newest, I think it is the newest book. Yeah, it is. It is the newest book by Dan Brown, and it is about Robert Langdon, which is the Robert Langdon series, Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. And yeah, I remember I read it because I was on holiday in December, my study abroad, and my parents came and visited me, and I needed a book. I don't know why I had a desire all of a sudden to read a book. I think it's because we were traveling a lot, we were riding a lot of trains, a lot of planes, and a lot of just free time that usually I'd listen to music and watch TV, watch movies, but I was kind of bored, and this book literally changed my life, and I will do a book review on it. It was could not put it down for 4 days. Amazing. And also, coincidentally, it takes place in Barcelona, and it talks about a lot of historical sites in Barcelona, and I was fortunate enough that I went to Barcelona with my best friends right after I read the book, like a couple weeks after, and I was just like, I saw the city in a different light, and it was just really, really cool. And then, I guess I'll go in chronological order. So then then I got to Paris, and so I actually was studying abroad in Aix-en-Provence in the south of France for one semester, last semester, and someone in my program was obsessed with a show called The Man in the High Castle on Amazon, and we watched the series together, and I found out that it was based on a book. So, The Man in the High Castle, and so I wanted to read it before I continued with this series, so I actually stopped watching the series and I picked up the book. I saw it at actually the bookstore just right next to my host mom's apartment and my host mom's house. And it's amazing. It's totally amazing. I think it's very different from the series. I get that the series is based on this book, but I couldn't put it down. And it's a very doable and short book. But I think this is a very good intro to this series. So I highly suggest that if you're planning to watch the TV series, you should read this book because it kind of gives you a general storyline, and then it sort of sets a base, and then the series allows you to explore more. But basically, this talks about America. I'm reading the back. 15 years after the end of the Second World War, but instead of the Allies winning, what would the world be if Japan and Germany won the war and sort of they split America in half? You know, the West Coast belongs to Japan and the East Coast belonged to the Nazi Party. And that alone, when I say that summary to people, it just grabs them. And yeah, so I guess I could do a more in-depth review. This video is just to show like what I've read, and some of them I will do a book review, and if you guys want a book review on any of the books that I've mentioned, comment down below. But the next is a book that I actually read for my French class, and it is L'Étrangère by Camus. And I read this in French, but it is readily translated in English, and it is such an amazing book. Yeah, so that's the other book that I read, and if you read French, or if you speak French and you're a beginner, I feel like this is a perfect book for those whose French isn't their first language. Okay, and then next I read Ernest Hemmingway's A Moveable Feast, and a French friend actually recommended this to me, and he read it in French, but he said that I should read it because I'm in Paris, and this basically talks about Hemingway's life when he lived in Paris in, I don't know the exact years, but it's in the 20s. 1921 to 1926. So I am really, really fascinated by that period. Les années folles, or the roaring 20s in Paris, full of artistic movements, literary movements, intellectual movements, and just Paris during that time is just amazing. After that, also for class, I read La Douleur. I don't know the translation of this in English, and I don't know if I found it, but if I did, I'm gonna leave the French and English links down below. And this is by Marguerite Duras, and she's a big literary figure in Paris during the 40s after the Second World War. And it's really cool. I got to visit her apartment, or where she wrote, the cafes where she wrote. She was during the eras of Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, yeah, all those writers. And this book is also really good for people who want to practice their French, and French isn't their first language. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna do a book review on this soon, because I really, really, really enjoyed it. And it actually is a film adaptation that was released last year, I believe. That's why it's kind of like popular now. in France. You can find it anywhere because of the film adaptation. So I have yet to watch the film adaptation, but I'm really, really curious. So I read this for class, but it was actually, I bought it before even knowing that we were going to read it in class. And yeah. And the second book I read was Edmund White. And he's actually an American author that lived in France, and he writes a lot of books about his time in Paris and the French culture. But this book specifically, Our Young Man, I'm going to do a book review on this because I loved it. I recently just finished it, so I'm going to do a book review on this, but coming soon. Yeah, I think it was published in 2016. It was published in 2016. But yeah, Edmund White. Last is another glowing book review that I'm going to be doing very, very soon. It is the Underground Railroad by Colson, Whitehead. And this is such an amazing book, you guys. Very, it's a page turner. I finished it in 3 days total. Yeah, so this is another thing that I'm going to do a book review on, and very, very soon.